it's just validating. You just need to know that you're not alone, and you're not. There's so many people out there that are going through their own issues. You can just find your tribe, find the people that are similar to you.
Welcome to Real Money, Real Life, the podcast where we get real about money and the messy human stuff that comes with it. I'm LindaGriz, financial educator and your Me Money guide to financial clarity. Each week, we dive into financial concepts and money strategies, but we always tie it back to real life, emotions, mindset, and how money actually shows up day to day. If you're ready for practical tools, mindset shifts, and honest conversations that meet you where you are, not where the world thinks you should be, you're in the right place. Because you deserve to feel confident with your money and good about how you use it. No judgment, no lectures, and definitely no putting yourself last. If you're listening, you're one of the real ones, the ones facing life's hardest chapters and still choosing to take the next step, even when it doesn't feel easy. Today, we're talking about financial decisions in widowhood and after major life transitions. Whether it's grief, divorce, job loss, or an identity shift, these seasons can leave you feeling unsteady and unsure where to turn. Together, we'll unpack the emotional and practical challenges of making money decisions during times of upheaval, and how to give yourself permission to move at your own pace, find support, and begin rebuilding when you're ready. Today's guest is Kim Murray. She's the founder of Widow 411, a digital resource hub created to help widows navigate life after loss. Through her writing, empowering online programs, and practical grief tools, Kim offers compassionate, no BS support for widows ready to heal on their own terms. She regularly speaks about post-loss identity, emotional healing, and resilience. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here with you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you're here. This is such an important conversation, and it's something where I feel like all of these things, widowhood, job loss, divorce, a lot of people just don't know where to start. So creating something, especially for widows, where they can go to and get information and find a hub, like you call it, a resource hub, is fantastic. I would love to know more about your story and your journey on how you started Widow 411.
Sure. Well, obviously I became a widow. So my husband died and I was 44 years old and I had two young kids. They were 8 and 10 at the time. So I had a lot of confusion and grief and solo parenting and all the things that comes with, widowhood to deal with. And I just didn't know what to do. I'm kind of like a list or resource person. Like, just tell me the things I need to do and I'll do them and I'll check them off. And those resources just didn't exist at the time. So I wanted to find ways to handle my grief, handle my solo parenting, handle my financial decisions, handle all the things that you don't know what to do with because your life partner, your spouse, your second half is gone. So I just really wanted to help myself, but in the process, help other people. So I just started writing about things I was doing and things I was learning and kind of how to handle some of those big life decisions. And I just put it on a website and decided to help other widows at the same time.
Nice. And so when you were putting all these things together, how were you finding them? I mean, how much research were you, you said they weren't easily found. So you're grabbing all these different pieces of things and you're kind of compiling them together. Tell me more about that process, because that's a big task, a big process to go through, especially when you're heavy with grief, right? That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And so I was knee deep in research. One thing about me, the way that I handle adversity or grief or challenges or struggles is I just do more work. So, some people might rest. That's not the way my brain or my body processes things. I need to do more. So for me, that was actually a positive thing to be researching and looking and trying to help myself. But then in the back of my mind thinking, I'm going to be helping other people too. So it really was just looking for whatever I could find, whether it was, and even talking to other people too. So not just necessarily all internet based, but even talking to other people, just wanting to find whatever I could get my hands on. You see 10-point checklist, like the funeral director will hand you a 10-point checklist after the funeral. Here, do these 10 things And it's like, you wipe your hands of it and you're done. It's laughable. The 10-step, the 10-point checklist is laughable. So I would say, yeah, this isn't enough. And so I just took a lot of notes. I kept track of the steps that I was doing to close accounts or to manage accounts or to, talk to other people about different things that had to be changed or edited or whatever, deleted. So I just kept a lot of notes, and I had a manila folder just full of notes. And so I thought I need to figure out a way to try to put this into something cohesive. And that's when I just started writing on the website, whether it was an article about grief or an article about budgeting or an article about solo parenting. I would just throw it all up onto the website. And then it just morphed. I mean, I've been doing this for 7, going on 8 years now. It just morphed into other things. So I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. And you learn as you go, like everything else. But, I always tell widows, you don't know how to be a widow until you are one. So when you are just standing there at this, like trying to climb out of the grief abyss, and you're just like, where do I go from here? Nobody knows how. We all learn as we go. So the resources were just knee deep into research, just looking for whatever I could find, talking to people and learning from some other people's mistakes too, because obviously I share my mistakes on my website as well. So other people don't have to take as long to come to a realization as I did about certain things. So that's really what all it entailed, was just keeping a lot of notes and trying to formulate it into some cohesion.
Yeah. And I know that's a tough process. I would love to hear more about, I hope this sounds bad. I would love to hear more about your mistakes, but really it's because we want other people to know so that they can learn and not make the same mistakes. Like, you've been through it and you know what you did wrong. And maybe you can give examples of things other people have done wrong too. That's not just you, that you've seen.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the biggest thing is just handling the emotions that come with the grief. So I think the biggest thing is we don't want to feel the pain. We don't want to feel that the heartache or the grief, or even sometimes the anger, that comes with those big life changes. We just don't want to feel it. And so we push it away. And I pushed it away for a long time. I'm talking probably like at least 2 or 3 years of just denying my grief. And it doesn't work that way. You can't do that. So whether it's a death or a job loss or a divorce or whatever the life challenge is, it's a lot. I mean, it's overwhelming, and it's okay to be sad, mad. Sometimes people are glad. I mean, I hate to say that, but sometimes they are for certain things that happen to them, whether it's a divorce or a death too. So you just have to acknowledge that all those emotions exist. We all have them. We're all human, and we can't ignore it. So in trying to ignore them, I kind of set myself up for a delay in processing my grief, which I think manifests itself in physical symptoms and other emotional outbursts. I was a solo mom. Like I said, I had kids that were 8 and 10. So I'm trying to really not fall off off the ledge. I'm trying to just be as stable as I can for my children as well. So a lot of those things I didn't want to deal with, because I felt if I started to really open myself up to the grief, I may never come out of that abyss. I mean, I really thought that, but it's not true. So looking back, I know that's not true. Looking back, I know the key is to feel all the feelings and just work through them. Don't ignore them. Those were some of my mistakes. And again, solo parenting, I mean, all of us parents make mistakes. So I wasn't, that definitely affected me too. But the grief and the death, I didn't know how to shepherd my kids through the grief as I was trying to get through my grief. And sometimes we put our kids before us. Sometimes we always put our kids before us. And so as the solo parent, if there's any solo parents out there listening, you absolutely have to put yourself first. And that's the only way that you can be valid or good for your kids or anybody else for that matter. I mean, there's all kinds of mistakes, but I think mistakes are lessons. So I don't really want to frame this as it's a mistake and it's a bad thing. We all learn our lessons the way that we're supposed to learn them. And those are just some of mine. I have to feel my feelings. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't like to feel feelings sometimes either. So as far as money goes, right? I think since this is a financial podcast, we should bring money into this, right? Like, what were the hardest decisions money-wise? I mean, I feel like and I'm asking like a bunch of questions at once. Sorry about that.
No,
but I feel I mean, I haven't been there, but I feel like when you're going to the bank and you're telling them that your husband has passed and they're shutting down all your bank accounts and you're trying to figure out how you're going to access your money. I mean, that to me, because I've been on the financial planning side of that, where someone has lost someone and then it's like everything's shut down. It's like they can't even access. They have auto pays set up that are coming out of accounts that can't be used. Like, just so talk to me more about the money side of it and the financial stuff that you have to do.
Yeah, it's really hard because I think you come from two camps. Either you have money, whether you have life insurance or an estate set up or something, savings or something. You either have the money over here or you don't. Maybe it was a sudden death. You didn't have life insurance. You didn't prepare for not having your spouse. So there's different ways, to come at that. You either have the money, don't know what to do with it, or you don't have any money and you don't know what to do, if that makes sense. So, a lot of those financial issues are your life partner, your co-parent, your financial provider is gone. And the person that you used to make decisions with is gone. So all of the decisions are now on you. And you don't always get the help you need from the bankers or from the CPAs or from the whomever. Maybe you don't have those people in your life. But I talk to a lot of widows who say, you need to have the financial person. You need to have the tax person. You need to have the estate person. So you do need these people in your life. And I don't think a lot of times widows even know that those people exist or that they could potentially help you. So those are some of the things I think if I knew all the things that were going on in my marriage with my finances. So plus my husband had a brain tumor. So he was sick for a year before he died. There was some planning or preparation that I had, during that. So I think the financial decisions are just, where do you start? And this is like when I said you get the 10-point checklist from the funeral director, that doesn't cover anything. So one of the resources I created is called the Ultimate Survival Guide for Widows. And that's really just like that first year after you're widowed, all the things you need to do. And when I say all, I mean, this is like a monster process of closing accounts or changing accounts or even understanding what insurance policies you have, what to do about taxes in that first year, budgeting, what's your net worth, what are the numbers of anything. I didn't have all of that at my disposal initially. So during my research and creating some of the resources and the manila folders that I kept and all the lists that I made, these are the things I had to go through. So I put that all into a resource for widows in that first year. I call it the first year anchor because you just don't know. So not all of it would apply to everybody. Some of the contents in it are for spouses who they were a veteran, or maybe they, like my husband, owned his own business. So I didn't have to go to an HR department in my husband's job and talk to them about what benefits I had. Some things apply to you, some don't. So this Ultimate Survival Guide just kind of goes through all of that on a very top level. I can't go too deep into that because it would be, a 5,000 page, document by the time I'm done. But those are things that you just don't know how to do. Do you consolidate your bank accounts? Do you, if you have a life insurance policy, do you cash it out? Do you get an annuity? Do you, increase your insurance that you have? I took over running my husband's business. So he was self-employed. So when he got sick, I took over running his business. And after he died, I continued running it. But I thought to myself, he got cancer. If he got cancer, I could get cancer. So I should have a disability insurance policy in case I get cancer and I can't provide for my family. I need a disability insurance policy. Those things are all so incredibly confusing when you're by yourself trying to figure all this out in your grief head. It's, I don't want to say impossible because it's not impossible, but it's really freaking hard to do that. There are so many financial decisions. It's very difficult. So you kind of need some widow friends of mine call them the board of directors to help you make those decisions, which is why I'm like a big promoter of financial planners. You need that person in your corner to help you with these decisions because they're so overwhelming.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I also think though, that it's important to find a person who you can trust and not necessarily just the person that your husband was using. I have a story that I can share. A friend of mine, her husband passed away, and I was a financial advisor at the time. And she said, "Can you help me with my finances?" She's like, "I don't know where anything is." He did everything. And I said, well, did he have a person? And she said, yeah, he has a person. I said, well, go to his person, because hopefully his person did holistic planning and knows where everything is. Hopefully that person knows where everything is. So she went to him and she came back to me and she said, I went to him. He was helpful. He wants me to buy an annuity. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, I don't know. She's like, do you think that's right? And I'm like, I don't know if that's right for you or not, because I don't know your financial situation. But what I do know is that you shouldn't be making that decision right now. And I was upset that he had asked her to do that. So that goes into a whole nother story about how financial advisors get paid, which is a podcast episode I did before that I seem to keep mentioning because it's really important. But so you're the person that you're going to, you know, that you're, if the other spouse was handling everything, that person might know everything, but they still might not be the best person for you and your relationship. So maybe go to them just to figure out where everything is, get the information, don't make any huge changes. And then when you're ready, find your own person that you can build a relationship with. I mean, is that a good advice? That's what I tell people.
That's excellent advice. Like print that out and pin it to your wall. That's excellent advice. Because I think one thing we do in grief also is not trust our instinct and not trust our intuition. Your voice inside of you isn't going to steer you wrong. You just have to listen to it. So a lot of the questions that we have as widows is, am I doing the right thing? Am I talking to the right person? And if your spouse had a person, like you said, and you go to that person, you think, well, they have my best interest at heart. They don't always have your best interest at heart. But I think if you trust your intuition and your gut, it'll lead you to the right place. So you are allowed to question people. You are allowed to not have the same ideas and thoughts that your spouse had. And now that you're on your own, you get to make your own decisions. So that can be empowering too. It can be scary as hell, but it can also be empowering. Now I get to decide what's best for me. And I just circling back real quick to one of the mistakes I used to make was I used to ask myself constantly, what would my husband do? What would my husband do in this situation? What would he do? Well, he's dead. He's gone now. So that was not serving me to ask, what would he do? The question had to be, what do you want to do? What's best for you? Talking to myself. So I had to start making decisions like, okay, well, maybe, this thing I thought that he wanted to have happen isn't the best thing for me to do. So I'm going to change my mind. And you get to change your mind. So we always make decisions with the information we have at that time. When we get new information, we get to make new decisions. So decisions aren't permanent. We get to change our mind when that new information presents itself. So I think that's excellent advice. Just start asking questions about the person who could be managing your money and could be helping you. And it's almost laughable how many widows go to financial planners who say buy an annuity. It's almost laughable because it's like the standard thing. Well, that's not standard for people. That's not helpful for everybody. Is it a good thing for some people? Sure. I mean, who's to say? But to your point, that's the whole holistic process of understanding everything about their situation. I had young kids. Some widows don't have young kids. Some have grandkids. Some never had kids, right? Like whatever. I mean, there's different situations for everybody. So you just have to trust your instinct too and go with your gut and change your mind when you're presented with new information.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, again, I haven't been there myself, but I feel like any big change like that, because I've been through divorce, any big change like that, you don't really even know where you are financially until like a year later, or maybe, I don't know how long later, but you got to get a handle on what your cash flow is, what your bills are now, what your incomes are, what's coming in, what's going out, everything changes and you can't really know where you stand financially. So to make a big decision financially like that it just doesn't make any sense because you don't even have you're just figuring out what accounts exist where, not like what is happening and how that's going to play out in the future yet. You're not even there yet. It takes a while.
No, it takes a long time. And for some people, they have to make immediate decisions. Some people have to move out of their homes. It's not physically, they're not physically capable of maintaining the property or something like that. There are some decisions you don't really have a choice about making. But I think the standard rule is, waiting that first year makes sense, but not everybody can do that. So again, based on your situation. But I used to joke that my calculator, I was constantly pushing the buttons on that calculator, like multiple times a day, figuring things out. I mean, I wore the keys out on that calculator because I was that first year for sure, just constantly trying to figure out, well, if I did this, this would happen. What if I made this decision? How would it affect here? I mean, plus you're not, I mean, grief brain, widow brain, whatever, it's a real thing. You are not 100% focused on the task at hand. You just can't be. I mean, I think your brain tries to protect you in a way to not give you the ability to do all those things because it would be way too overwhelming. So yeah, I mean, I just think you need to, you just have to figure out, give yourself some space, a little bit of time. Is it 6 months? Is it 12 months? I don't know, but a little bit of time to step back from that and see where you are.
Yeah. And it's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's, like you said, everybody's situation is completely unique. So it could be sooner for one person than for another. So when you're dealing with all these things that seem urgent, like bills, getting estate settled, income shifting, taking care of kids, all these things, how do you help someone balance the urgency of everything? Because it seems like everything is important.
Well, it is. And again, this goes back to the uniqueness of everybody's situation. So I guess it would just be really, just counseling people to put your priorities in your list. What's your 1 to 10, 1 being the most important or 10, whatever, just the list of what's the most important thing to you. Did you have a life insurance policy? You got to figure out what to do with that. If you don't, that's not an issue, right? How old are your kids? Do they have to go to daycare? Some widows, have babies or toddlers that need to go to daycare. Mine were already in school, so that wasn't an issue for me. I didn't have to worry about, and I worked from home. I was self-employed, so I didn't have to worry about babysitters and all that kind of stuff. So it's really it's unique to everybody. So it's prioritizing what is important to you. Is it childcare? Is it work? Some widows don't want to go back to work. Some immediately go back to work. So there's all different kinds of scenarios. I think you just have to prioritize what is the most important thing to you. And that changes again when you're presented with new information. You might change your mind. The 10 points might change. That's okay. Keep changing them and keep moving forward in whatever way makes sense to you.
Yeah, I think that's important, that people have permission to change, permission to pause also, permission to put themselves first, all of those things. You keep mentioning the 10 points. Do you know what the 10 points are?
No, I'm just saying that's like a reasonable number, right? It seems like a reasonable number. I think most people could come up with 10 things if they had to. So no, I don't know why I keep saying 10, but I just think that's a reasonable amount. Yeah.
I was wondering if there was a specific thing there, but yeah, there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Let's talk about community and how community can help support widows or widowers in their journey.
Well, there's a lot of people grieving out there, so you're not alone. I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of us believe that nobody understands us or nobody wants to be around us, because I used to think like I was the biggest buzzkill at the party, because whenever somebody asked me, what do you do? Well, I took over my dead husband's business, and that kind of ends the conversation right there, So people are awkward around death. They don't know what to say or how to say it, which is fine. If you've never been through it, you don't know how to handle it. But there's a lot of community out there for widows and widowers who, we can talk to people who've walked the same path that we have. And with my website, I don't have groups or anything, but other widow programs do have groups, Zooms or in person or online or whatever, just to talk to people who are similar to you. We are all widows or widowers. We don't have the same circumstances, but we can understand each other. So when you get with people, whether you're divorced, whether you go through job loss, whether your child is sick or your spouse died, you can find people who are in that same situation that you are. And it's just validation. Yes, what you're feeling is real. Yes, you are not. Yes, you're normal. All the questions that go through your head when you're with somebody or with a community of people that have been through a similar situation. It's just validating. You just need to know that you're not alone, and you're not. There's so many people out there that are going through their own issues. You can just find your tribe, find the people that are similar to you. And whether, like I said, whether it's in person or or online, even meetups. Like if you did meetup.com, you can find meetups with people who have similar situations as yours. So I think it's important. Sometimes we self-isolate, especially in the beginning. We don't want to talk to other people. We don't want to be around other people. I think eventually you cross that bridge where you're willing to get out and be social again. If you're not, that's okay too. Some people are introverted and they don't want to be social. That's fine. But if it becomes a point where you're not social and it's affecting your behavior or your life, then you probably need to get, I would reach out for some help with that. But I think that we're not meant to be alone. We're meant to be in community. So, the sooner I took my kids, as soon as my husband died directly, we went to a family grief group for and we spent 2 years there. So like from the very beginning, I took them because they being 8, 10 years old at the time, 9 and 11 when he died, actually, thought they were the only ones who didn't have a dad. And so now they're surrounded by other kids who don't have a mom or a dad, and they know they're not alone. So I just think it's important to reach out. And if you don't want to do it in the beginning, fine. But I think eventually I would recommend definitely seeking out those support groups.
Yeah. That's great advice. So for someone who, like you said, like you would be somewhere and would say, well, what do you do? And you say, I took over my dead husband's business, and the conversation would stop because people don't know what to say. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's for people that would be on the other side of that, what should they say? What should they not say?
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, you could Google what to say and not say it, and you could come up with like 1,000 different responses. I was not a good friend to grievers before I became one. So I'm just going to be honest. Like I would do I'm sorry for your loss and move on or whatever. Or, I actually wrote an article about this on my website about the phrases I hated the most were, at least you, and just finish that sentence with whatever. At least you had time to prepare, because my husband had a brain tumor diagnosis. At least I had time to prepare, as if it was easier for me when he died, because at least. So I hate the at least, or you should just, and then insert whatever thing, piece of advice you want to give somebody. So I think I did that a lot before my husband died. Then after, now that I understand it, it's like, I don't give people that kind of advice anymore, because you don't know their circumstance and you don't know where they are in the grief process. You don't know anything. So now I just say that sucks. And I'm really sorry that you have to go through this. It seems like that's a really difficult thing to do. Or people don't want to ask you questions about your spouse because they're afraid they're going to make you more sad than you already are, which is literally impossible to do. We never stop thinking about our spouses, and we always want to talk about them. So I think the best thing people can do is like just dive in and ask the question about the dead person and just talk about them, because that's really all we want to do is talk about our person. So don't be afraid that you're going to stir up any emotions in the widow or the widower that they don't already have, because that's not going to happen. So I think we just need to stop telling people what we think they should do, because we really don't know. And just say, and I had a friend who said, I don't know what to say, but I can sit and cry with you if that would help you. And it was just a sweet thing to say. I don't know what, and really all you can say is, I don't know what to say. When I send cards now to people who's, somebody died, it's like, there's no good words for this. I don't have anything to say to you, but I'm holding you close to my heart, and I wish you peace and strength. So it's, there's 1,000 things you could say or not say, but I think the biggest thing is, don't tell people what you think they should do. Because a lot of times what people are doing is making themselves feel better, because it's so awkward. So they just say something that makes themselves feel better, not the person they're talking to. So I think if you keep perspective, you keep that in mind, you're like, this isn't helping them, it's helping me. So just, kind of put the kibosh on that. But if you really wanted a literal sentence, I would just do a Google search and you can find things to say. But really, there's no good words for this, is my standard.
Yeah. But no, I love that. Talk about the person, because it's not like you're not thinking about them. So bringing their name up is not going to trigger something, because you're already thinking about them anyway.
Well, that's true. My husband's been gone for 11 years, and I'm remarried now for going on 3 years. And we still talk about my deceased husband. And my now husband will bring him up sometimes too. And, I've gone to weddings of friends whose kids are getting married now. And, he's still there. He's in my my aura, my presence in my world. He's not here physically, but he's still here. So I talk about him all the time. 11 years down the road, I'm still talking about him. I'll never not talk about him.
Yeah.
So I think that's just an important point to people, is just bring up the name, say the name.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the real money, real life type of thing. What are some common beliefs or pressures that you hear widows that put up on themselves around money?
Well, that they're not good with money. They're not good with money. They don't understand numbers. I don't know. I'm not good at math. A lot, and can't give you a percentage, but I think a lot of widows do come from the standard where the husband or took care of a lot of the financial things. Maybe they took care of the child rearing or whatever the case is. My husband and I were pretty 50-50. I knew everything that was going on in our finances, even though I wasn't working at the time because I stayed home with my kids, but I still knew what was going on. But I think a lot, and I'm not good with math. Numbers English is my jam. I can write fantastic. I can't do, 2 + 2. I don't like numbers that way, but I still can figure out my financial picture. Even though I don't love math, I still know what my financial numbers are. So I think if you tell yourself you're not good at this, then you ain't gonna be good at it. So you probably shouldn't put that in your head. Is it something you have to learn? Yes. Can it be overwhelming? Of course. Are you capable? 100%. You're capable of learning how to do this. You don't have to be a financial planner. I don't want to be a financial planner. I pay somebody to do that for me. But I can still understand my income and expenses and my net worth and what my investments are, what my tax burdens are. I can understand that stuff, even though I'm not an expert in any of it. So I think if you convince yourself you're not good with money, then you're going to have a hard time understanding it. So you can just tell yourself, I'm willing to learn. This is new to me, but I'm willing to learn and go as far as you want to go. I do have professionals that I pay. I have a CPA that I pay. I have a financial planner that I pay. So I pay people to help me do these things. If you need assistance, go find it. It's out there. You can do it.
Great. Thanks for that. Any other mindset shifts that make a huge difference for people in transition?
Just don't expect to know what you're doing until you learn how to do it. Don't expect to know how to grieve and to understand grief until you've gone through it. And I often say that, we don't like the term to move on. Why don't you just move on? Why haven't you moved on yet? We move forward with our grief. We don't ever move on from it. It's going to be with you forever. And so I think if, that mindset of I should be over this by now, I shouldn't still be crying about this is bonkers. This is like the hugest thing that's going to ever happen to you. And my husband's been dead 11 years. I still drop to my knees sometimes with memories or things that trigger me. And it's happened within, the last few months where I'm like, damn, girl. This is still here and it's not going to ever be gone. So I think we just have to give ourselves that extra grace that I'm still learning how to live with it. And I'm remarried now. So that brings in another element. I'm still learning how to move forward with it too. It gets easier, obviously, as time goes on. I don't like the platitude that time heals all wounds, but really the only way you can see your progress is when you look back, right? So you have to move forward. You have to get some space between that to look back and say, yeah, I did some really hard things. I'm still doing hard things, but I'm moving forward. I am healing. It's slowly but surely, but you don't know that until you can look back and kind of start connecting those dots. So stop thinking that you're supposed to know how to do this because nobody knows. We're all beginners and we learn as we go.
Yeah, great advice. Okay, let's talk about your book. You have a book available?
I just published a gratitude journal. So I'll tell you a little bit about my gratitude journey because it started as an anti-gratitude journey. Because those first few years that I was talking about not feeling my feelings, everybody's heard about how positive having a gratitude practice can be. And I just heard it so much in those first 2 years. And I was just really pissed off about it because I was angry. I didn't want to be grateful about anything. I was pissed. So I even have another article on my website about my anti-gratitude rants. And I just didn't believe it. So I didn't jump on the gratitude bandwagon early in the game at all. But after, several years, I started thinking, well, what if I did try it? What if I did try to find something to be grateful for? And it's a lot easier than you think, as long as you're not putting a ton of pressure on yourself to just be grateful all the time. Because I'm not talking about being a positive, Pollyanna like 24/7. That's stupid. It's unrealistic. But finding little bits of joy, little bits of light, slivers, if you will, can help you really change your perspective from everything sucks because grief is so terrible to there are some things that I could be happy about, even if they're not life-changing. I love chickadee birds, little chickadees. And there's a park in my area where you can feed them. They eat out of your hand. They're the cutest little things. So you put black sunflower seeds in your hand and they'll come down and eat out of your hand. I'm grateful for that. I am grateful for the chickadees that eat out of my hand. I'm grateful for hazelnut coffee. I don't drink any other kind of coffee. It has to be hazelnut. Not hazelnut syrup, not hazelnut creamer, the actual hazelnut coffee bean. I'm happy about that. So you can find, it doesn't have to be major monumental things. You can find small things to be grateful for. So I decided to create a gratitude journal that would help you find those little bits of light, but not ignore the pain. So it's something that, you can have pain with the possibility. They can both exist at the same time. And they're just prompts and things that I kind of went through myself to get over that hump of anti-gratitude to being thankful for a few things. And there's space to write down what you're grateful for every day. Believe it or not, there's 10 lines, Linda, and that page of things you could be grateful for. You don't have to write 10, but it's something you could work towards. It could be one thing, it could be 2, it could be 3, 10, whatever. But every day you just kind of write a few things that make you happy, whether it's the birds or your coffee or your dog sitting in your lap. Or I heard kids playing in the neighbor's yard the other day. We don't have many kids on our street. And where I used to live when my kids were growing up, it was kids outside all day, every day. And I loved the sound of hearing them play. Well, I just heard the sound the other day and I was like, oh my gosh, I miss the sound of kids laugh, just like the belly laughing outside playing and just enjoying themselves. I would be writing that down in my journal today. I'm grateful for the kids' laughter or whatever. So I wanted to give people, and it's not just for widows, it's for anybody going through, kind of a monumental life change, divorce, job loss, health scare, whatever, the ability to find the things to be grateful for, but not ignore the pain. So that's where this gratitude journal is called Crying Plus Trying, because both exist. You can cry and try at the same time, and it's all good. So I just published that on Amazon about a month and a half ago. So I'm excited about it and got a lot of good feedback on it. I just want people to know that it doesn't have to be fake or toxic positivity all the time. It can be both pain and possibility.
I like that. I'll be sure to put that link in the comments or in the description here. All right. So where else can people find you?
I'm at widow411.com. And then if I'm on Instagram or Facebook or Pinterest, it's at widow411.
Great. Thanks so much for joining us today, Kim. This was great information, and I'm hoping that it'll reach the people that it needs to reach.
I appreciate you having me. So good to be with you.
Thanks so much for listening to Real Money, Real Life. Want to see what's blocking you from financial confidence or discover your money personality? Head to the resources page at LindaGriz.com for our free quizzes. That's LindaGriz.com/resources. If you're loving what you're learning, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. I'm your Me Money Guide to Financial Clarity, Linda Grizzly, and I'll catch you next time as we talk more real money, real life, because you deserve to feel confident with your money and good about how you spend it. The content shared here is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not financial, tax, legal, or planning advice and does not constitute therapy or mental health counseling. Please consult an actively licensed and qualified professional for advice or help specific to your situation.